The war and rising tension between Iran, Israel, and the United States that we see today did not start suddenly. Rather, its roots go back nearly 70 years and are deeply connected to history, politics, power, religion, and especially oil and its strategic roots. To understand the full story, we must go back to the 1950s when Iran's Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized the country's oil industry. Before that, Iran's oil was largely controlled by Western companies, particularly Britain and later the United States. When Iran declared that its oil belonged to its own people, Western powers did not accept this. And in 1953, the United States and Britain supported a coup that removed Mossadegh from power. This event created deep resentment among the Iranian people toward the United States. Then, in 1979, a major turning point occurred with the Islamic Revolution in Iran. After the revolution, Iran declared the United States as its enemy and also took a strong stance against Israel. From this point, real hostility began, with Iran openly opposing both countries and adopting slogans like "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," marking the beginning of long-term conflict between these nations. Israel, on the other hand, sees itself as a small country surrounded by hostile forces, which is why it does not tolerate any nation becoming powerful enough to threaten its existence, especially Iran, which openly opposes Israel and supports Palestine. Meanwhile, the United States is Israel's strongest ally, providing it with weapons, financial aid, and military support. Therefore, whenever tensions rise between Israel and Iran, the United States becomes involved as well. One of the most critical elements in this conflict is Iran's nuclear program. Iran claims that its nuclear activities are for peaceful purposes, but Israel and the United States suspect that Iran is trying to develop nuclear weapons. If Iran were to acquire nuclear weapons, it would pose a major threat to Israel. Because of this fear, Israel has carried out multiple strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, and the United States has imposed strict economic sanctions on Iran. In addition, Iran has expanded its influence in the Middle East by supporting various groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Palestine, which has further intensified its conflict with Israel. All of these factors together have created a complex geopolitical situation involving power, influence, and security concerns. In recent years, especially after 2023, the Gaza war significantly escalated tensions in the region. Israel launched large-scale attacks in Gaza, and Iran-backed groups became involved in the conflict. Following this, Israel also carried out strikes inside Iran, and Iran responded with drone and missile attacks. By 2025, for the first time, Israel launched direct large-scale attacks on Iran, with the United States also becoming involved. In response, Iran targeted U.S. military bases and Israeli positions. By 2026, this ongoing tension evolved into a larger and more dangerous conflict. At this point, another extremely important factor turned this conflict from just a military confrontation into an economic war as well, and that is the Strait of Hormuz. This is a narrow but critically important sea route that connects the Persian Gulf to the rest of the world's oceans. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this route every day. This means that if this passage is blocked, global oil supply can be severely disrupted, prices can skyrocket, and the entire global economy can be shaken. That is why this route is often referred to as one of the world's most vital economic lifelines. When the United States and Israel carried out attacks on Iran, Iran responded by restricting or threatening to block this route. It targeted ships, disrupted oil tankers, and warned that as long as the war continues, it could prevent oil from reaching its nations. As a result, global oil prices began to rise, leading to inflation and economic instability worldwide. Experts warn that if this route remains blocked for a prolonged period, it could cause severe damage to the global economy and lead to a major shortage in oil supply. This is why reopening and securing this route has become a major objective for the United States and Israel, because without oil, neither economies nor military operations can function effectively. On the other hand, for Iran, this route is one of its strongest strategic tools, because it knows that controlling or threatening it can put pressure on the entire world. In simple terms, this conflict is not just a war of guns and missiles. It is a struggle for power, influence, nuclear capability, and control over critical oil routes. The United States and Israel aim to weaken Iran and stop its nuclear ambitions, while Iran seeks to establish itself as a dominant regional power and reduce the influence of the United States and Israel in the Middle East. At the same time, oil politics plays a crucial role, as the Middle East is one of the largest oil-producing regions in the world, and whoever controls its resources and routes can influence the global economy. This is why this conflict is not limited to just these three countries, but affects the entire world. Oil prices are rising, inflation is increasing, and global trade is being disrupted. Some experts even warn that the situation could resemble the major oil crisis of the 1970s. In conclusion, the hostility between Iran, Israel, and the United States is the result of a long history, nuclear tensions, regional power struggles, and especially the strategic importance of oil routes like the Strait of Hormuz. It is not a sudden war, but a long-standing conflict that has now become more visible and intense. And unless these underlying issues are resolved, the tension is likely to continue and possibly escalate further.